open the Monday, June 13th, 2022 council meeting. Roll call. All councilors are present. Councilor Willie is joining us via Zoom this evening. Item number 2, the invocation, inspirational thought. If everybody please be in the attitude of prayer. We pray for our country at all times, that all citizens are safe, healthy, and happy. We pray for wisdom for all those who guide and govern. Help this government body in every situation to know and to do the things that are right and just, with soundness of judgment in making vital decisions. We pray for the peacemakers, that the holy life-giving spirit may ever dwell in their hearts, and the barriers of fear, suspicion, and hatred may fall. This we pray to the Holy Father. Amen.
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 Everybody would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This table's too close.
Item number 4 on our agenda, public forum. Danielle, do you have anything for us?
I do.
Perfect. Does anybody from the audience wish to speak at this time to address the council? Just state your name and address.
David Bellier. I just recently moved to 16 Truman Street in town. And many of you know I walk a lot. And I wanted to thank the manager and the council and Public Works for the cleanup they did this spring. It made an awesome difference in getting the trash and brush out of the way, and especially the sidewalks swept. It's a nice job, and thanks. I meant to put it in writing, but it's the best it's going to get.
Pass it along to Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Anybody else like to speak on the public forum? Agenda item number 5, we have the May 23rd, 2022 regular council meeting minutes. I believe everybody has their minutes in their packet. Is there any errors or omissions? Everybody's had a chance to review these.
Move to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? Wilma?
Aye.
Go on.
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Go on.
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Willie?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And 6A, we have a proclamation for Amateur Radio Week, which I will read. Do we have anybody here to represent this group, or? I can read it anyway. Whereas the city of Caribou, Maine is home to over 50 licensed amateur radio operators who repeatedly demonstrate their immense value to the citizens of this town by providing emergency communications during disasters. And whereas these amateur radio operators generously operate privately owned communication resources for the welfare and common good of Caribou citizenry, and whereas these amateur radio operators diligently maintain communications on a state, city, and worldwide basis in preparation for emergencies anywhere on Earth, and whereas these amateur radio operators always practice and refine their communication skills, especially during the annual field day exercise, and whereas the unique technical nature of amateur radio and the equipment used allows amateur radio to be operated virtually anywhere, and whereas Caribou amateur radio operators continue to stand by, ready to serve and answer any and all emergency communication requirements, and whereas the annual amateur radio field day event is June 25th and 26th, 2022. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Caribou City Council fully support and do hereby proclaim the week of June 19th to the 25th, 2022 as Amateur Radio Week in the city of Caribou. Okay. Thank you. So number 7, we have a public hearing. Public hearing for ordinance number 5, 2022, an ordinance to amend City Code and Ordinances Chapter 5 fire prevention to clarify the responsibility for snow removal from the hydrants located within the city of Caribou. I will open the public hearing at 6:09 p.m. And anybody from the public wish to speak about this? We have an ordinance. Dave, state your name please again and address.
I'm David Bellier. I reside on 16 Truman Street in Caribou. One of my colleagues told me once, don't be tempted to speak unless you can improve on silence, but I'm going to try anyway. I've been a trustee for Caribou Utility District off and on since 1996. It's been my privilege to serve with a number of dedicated and loyal employees and trustees. I can tell you from my experience, it's always been our top priority to keep the citizens of Caribou and their keep them in mind anytime we have to increase rates or do anything at the district. It's always with, do we have to raise these rates? Can we do anything else? Can we cut costs? So I think in your packet you had a information packet that has a letter from former District General Manager Al Hitchcock to former Manager Blease. It outlines all the legalities about fire protection and the Public Utilities Commission and all of that. Well, that's all well and good, but to me, it comes down to, you know, the three city departments. What are their core competencies and expertise? Well, of course, the fire department is fire suppression and protection. For the utility district, it's operating and maintaining utility system. And for public works, it's maintaining highways and other roadway infrastructures. And of course, that includes snow removal. All I would say is they have the expertise, the equipment, and the experience to do snow removal. The utility district does not. In the past, the Public Works has always removed snow from the hydrants, and I think that was for a very good reason. They had the equipment, they could do it the most cost-effective for the citizens of Caribou, and for me, that's what it boils down to. What can we do that keeps the cost down for everybody, not only the district ratepayers, but for the city and all the taxpayers. So that's about it for me. I would, I find it kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of having a hard time to decide why we would need an ordinance when really all we need is the three city departments to get together and say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. Let's go ahead and keep doing what's in the best interest for the citizens. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dave. Does anybody else from the audience like to speak about this proposed ordinance? Do you have the ordinance? Can you bring it up on the screen for us?
So it's page 7.
The proposed ordinance, excuse me. So nobody from the audience. Does anybody from council have anything? Start with Joan, please.
We've been talking back and forth about this for several years. Whose responsibility would it be? The highway has done it for the most part, and they do it in the winter time when it's their busiest time, and they can't always get to it when they probably should, because they've got other priorities before they get to the hydrants. And we've talked about it back and forth, and first of all, I felt that we at least needed, there's apparently never been an official or, you know, any type of document or anything, a legal agreement or something in writing. There's never been anything. It's just been assumed that the highway department was going to do it. And that might work okay, but you should have some kind of formal agreement in writing. And this winter, there was a fire up on Coolidge Avenue. Not a big one, it was a shed, but the hydrants on Coolidge were not shoveled. And when the fire department got there, there was a kid shoveling the hydrant out. Well, you know, kids shouldn't have to shovel the hydrants out. I feel that with the winter time being the busiest time for Public Works, and the fire department and ambulance department, they go all the time anyway, but with storms and things like that, I don't agree with Dave that you don't have the expertise, because you've got a loader, you've got machinery, you've got people who know how to take the snow away from the hydrants, because I've seen them do it. And they've got, it's not like it's a 24/7 job, and it's not like it's year-round. It's 3 or 4 months, maybe a couple days or so a week to clean these out. I don't know how busy you are in the winter, but I know that it's right at the time that the Public Works is the busiest. And I'm also a little concerned because we are 3 entities doing what we can for the city, and I'm a little disappointed because there seems to be, rather than let's all come together and do what we can do, which I believe that the CUD has what they need to do it, they seem to want to just push away from that and not want to help when they could be helping. And so I feel that we need some kind of ordinance. If we say the CUD is going to do the hydrants and they don't, oh well, but at least it takes the responsibility off the city. And for what is paid yearly for and call it hydrant rental, call it whatever you want, they belong to the CUD. The CUD, I read some different rules and regulations. It's mandatory that if you have a fire department, the utilities district has to provide water for the fire department, and they're supposed to maintain the hydrants. I don't know, maintain, how far that goes. But I just think just for the sake of a nice rapport between all 3 entities, that maybe this would be the best way to go. But I am in favor of the ordinance, whether it's obeyed or whatever you want to call it or not. So.
Doug.
In light of city's attorney's comments, maybe the best and easiest thing to do is to put it out to bid. Let's let a contractor bid removing the snow. Whatever that bid is, amount, we deduct it from Public Works budget. And it's over, it's done with. No fuss, no muss. To me, it's the easiest way to settle it. Public Work has always done it, and I believe that they've accounted for that through the years, for the revenue to do that job. If I understood Dave correctly, it's not just expertise, it's manpower. Well, let's go out and get a bid. And whatever that bid is, deduct it from their budget. They don't have to deal with the hydrants. The hydrants get cleaned in a timely fashion. I can't see passing an ordinance if it doesn't have teeth. I think the easiest thing to do is do that.
John?
I have to agree with Councilor Terrio. I guess the thing that bothers me the most about this is that it's supposed to be all for one and one for all. And ultimately, okay, the only one that's going to suffer in the long run is going to be the citizens of Caribou. First off, okay, you know, it's been told to us, okay, that if this ordinance passes, there's a possibility the CUD will increase their rate to us to cover the expense of this. Okay, now we're hearing another proposal where, okay, we go out to bid, and we reduce the budget for the Public Works Department, okay? So regardless, somebody's going to suffer all along. You know, it's not a big deal, okay? And I guess I really take it kind of personally, okay, that we just can't, you know, say here, okay, guys, you know, we get it, okay? We're out plowing our driveways for our tanks and all this sort of deal. Hey, you know, we'll burn around town here, you know, and we'll move a little bit of snow by the hydrants. It doesn't take that long, you know? So that's what gets me, okay? It's it should be everybody coming together, regardless of what the, how do you call it, not the level, but the orientation of the department is, or the group that's working together. But it's like, let's work together to fix a little common, simple problem, okay? Plow the hydrants out. If somebody's out plowing snow, you can just take half an hour, whatever, to go move a few hydrants, you know, or clean a few hydrants. So, but whatever. But I think it's very sad that we have to come up with an ordinance to have this done, where we're just asking for the public entities, I guess, to come together to fix a really simple problem.
Mark?
Election's tomorrow, and election to me in Caribou has a meaning. My sister passed away about 6 years ago, and my dad wanted to go to the service. My sister's up here, but wanted to go to the service. So we went down and we did the 3-day deal, and Dad was about 85 at the time. And we got back, and didn't we get bumped in Florida? Oh boy. And so I says, Dad, the next flight's 4 days. What do you want to do? He says, I want to go home and be with your mother. Long story short, 36 hours later, we went through Fort Fairfield, and I go, Dad, it's election day. What do you want to do? A couple of miles down the road, heading to the house. He says, let's go vote. So we drove by his house. More importantly, we drove by his wife. And we got to the election. From the time we went into that election, from the time my father gave his name, and by the time he went into that booth and came out, and even as we're walking out, I'd have to say 3/4 of those wardens went up to my father and consulted him, patted his back, one grab. I sat back and watched it. We got back in the car, and I says, we started driving back out, and he says, you know, Mark, this is what hometown's all about. Nobody needed an award. Nobody's arguing. And I saw, I don't know what it was in my father that day that made me so proud of this small town. I say this story because I'm going to say something. Here we go. When you start arguing things like the CUD hydrant rental on that Facebook page with people with make-believe names saying things that aren't true, I'm telling you, that is just about the opposite of small town that I saw my father experience. The information packet that we got, people ought to read that before they start mouthing off. Dave's having a hard time understanding why we need an ordinance. It's because we're chasing those people with make-believe names on that Facebook page, and there's actually people that believe it without even the educational part of it. You want to have that opinion after you educate yourself? I got no problem. You want to grab that microphone? You want to use your own name on that Facebook page? I have no problem, and make your statements. But fake names and people are actually engaging in that? That's why, Dave, you're having a hard time understanding. I'll be honest with you, I'm having a hard time understanding it. And you can take the same thought process to the police station. You can take the same thought process to this big deal that's going on up there about the superintendent and the safety officer, as if the school board is actually putting the student's life in danger so somebody can get paid more money. My God, what a joke. Do we need to every once in a while step back and say, hey, wait a minute, let's relook this thing over? Yes, I've said it many times. Every once in a while, you do have to back up. But does that make you an evil person? No, sir. This whole thing is about chasing that Facebook page. And I want to call it out for what it is. Garbage. Garbage. I don't mind people that use their own name. But the rest of it, I'm talking the political side of that Facebook page. That is garbage. That is so anti-small town feel-good attitude that I've never seen the likes of it. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Please, just your name and address, please. And
Did not plan on standing up here, so forgive me. My name is Garth Kenny Lombard. I live on 15 Peterson Avenue. I've lived in this town for 10 years now. I've worked in this town for more than that. Mark and I don't really see eye to eye on some things, but he's kind of on the valid point of, what the hell is this? I understand why it wants to be in writing. Legality is everything. I work for the government. There's legalities from coming into the building to leaving the building. That being said, just why is this becoming such a big thing? Personally, my opinion, the CUD should be doing it because it is a rental, and out in the country where Mark is, they don't have hydrants. So obviously, as a customer, I should be covering the cost. My opinion, I don't like higher rates. I don't like higher tax rates. That being said, getting it down on paper, who has the responsibility, there's no questions asked in 25 years, 10 years, so on and so forth. So my main problem with all of this is, okay, we have it. If the city's going to do it, have the city do it. If there needs to be more conversation, make more conversation. But arguing and being this tit for tat stuff is not going to solve the problem. And I know people are like, oh, well, it hasn't been a problem with someone for so long. But having children shovel out a hydrant, my son is 6. I can tell you that would be my child's first action. Clean out that hydrant so that firefighter can get in there and save that person. That should not be the job of any citizen who is sitting there in panic about their neighbor. So either A, the CUD takes it, or the Caribou City takes it. That being said, a solution is easy. Decide which one takes it. You sit up there, you vote. You get it done and over with. So I think just the tit for tat stuff isn't going to solve the problems, and that's as a taxpayer, I'd rather pay more taxes to get something done and get it done correctly, so when my house is on fire, it's not burning down to the ground and my kid has to worry about that. So that's my one and only concern, is find who is responsible for it and take care of it. So, thank you. I appreciate it.
hey, thank you. Does anybody else want to speak on this? We'll close the public hearing. I just want a couple things in here, and you mentioned the hydrants, just being a city thing. The hydrants, even though you're in the country and there's a fire in the country, even in the winter, it's hard to pump out of the river when it's froze, so they still have to come back to Caribou to get the water to haul. So the hydrants do serve, I believe, all of the community, or all of our community, rural as well. One other thing, I believe in some of the emails that were going back and forth regarding this, if this ordinance is passed, I think there was something in there that there would still have to be a formal agreement between us and the CUD.
Well, it sounds like the city wouldn't have the authority to tell the CUD
Right.
that they would be,
So
that they
this-
would have to do
okay,
it.
so
So
this-
having it in an ordinance, like Councilor Morrell says, it may not have any teeth. You'd have to have a separate agreement.
It would be a separate agreement. This is,
And, I don't,
that's what I wanted to clarify on some of the
Mhm.
emails that were going back and forth with
Right.
legal.
It would clarify.
This would clarify who's responsible. Maybe it doesn't necessarily solve the problem, but, or, that's what I'm gonna, that's
Mhm.
fine.
And it is
disabled.
true about those of us, I live in the country too, when they would have to fill the tanker, I think the hydrant is near the Par and Grill or something.
So they'd
If
have to
if
come
my
back to
house
that.
was
I
on
mean,
fire, yeah.
Madawaska Stream's, right now is all right.
Yeah, and
but
I don't know
mean, in
how they
winter,
would
you
get to the
can't tumble in
Madawaska
the
Stream,
ice.
even though I can see it from my house. I
Yeah.
mean, they're not gonna go bounding down the hill in a fire truck.
I mean, so that's just my point. that the
But I'd
hydrants
like to see that.
Serve our whole community, not just.
Right,
in
right.
town,
It's
'cause
not
it-
just in town. I think that's a common misconception, and
Sometimes.
thanks for clarifying that.
That's all I wanted to throw out there. And Courtney, did you?
So, I mean, the bottom line for me is that somebody is responsible for it. And I think that was kind of the goal of this ordinance, is to establish responsibility, that there was a party that would be responsible for removing the snow from the hydrants. And to me, as long as we can establish that, like, I don't care who does it, I just know that it needs to be done, and I want to see it in writing, who is responsible to do that. So however we have to get there and get to that, that's what I'd like to see happen.
I think previous councils, previous managers, and I'm not saying anything bad about previous councils and previous managers, just to be clear, they were very concerned about creating overtime in the Public Works Department. And that's why, this was done when they had time that wasn't creating overtime. And if it's more of a priority to make sure that they are cleared in case of an emergency. And this was kind of an odd year, and I think even people I talked to that are not the city, but also plow snow, said it was just the weirdest year to try to keep ahead of the snow. I mean, we ran out of salt, which I guess Dave has said has never happened since he's worked at the Public Works Department, which has been quite a while. So it was a little bit of a different winter this year, but there are several different things to consider, including advice given to the city department from previous councils and managers about creating overtime. And maybe it's as simple as getting someone and that's their job, and maybe it's someone who's just looking for pocket money, which they may need this winter. It's shaping up to be that kind of year, that will say, hey, I'll take the job for the winter time and keep it cleared out. I don't know. I don't know what it takes to clear snow from hydrants. That's not in my wheelhouse, but it's something that could be discussed.
Hearing is still open. Is anybody else from council or the audience?
I don't know.
Lou, you still with us, Lou? She raised her hand?
On mute because my dog keeps barking.
Okay, well,
I'm here.
make sure if I don't miss you, if you have anything you want to put in for discussion. I'll close the public hearing at 6:32 p.m. What are the wishes of council?
Make a motion, we go to bid. Whatever that dollar amount is, we deduct it from Public Works and lay this thing to rest.
The motion fails with no second.
I make a motion that we lost my train. Make a motion to go forward with the ordinance for the Caribou utilities to be responsible for the cleaning of the hydrants.
So that'll be a motion to accept ordinance number 5.
Yes, thank you.
Simplify that
Yeah.
for Danielle.
Second.
I'll have a motion to accept ordinance number 5. Have a second. Discussion. Mark?
Not until I hear, I'm going to vote no, because I want to hear from an attorney, do we have the authority to pass off this responsibility to an identity other than us? I want to know that. This ordinance has it in there that CUD's responsible. Do we have that authority?
Courtney?
Have we received any clarification on that, other
Well,
than,
Right, I have the email today, and then we had the email, which I copied again in the memo. And what MMA said when asked was that my anecdotal impression is that in most municipalities, it's either the fire department or the public works department that clears snow from fire hydrants, regardless of whether the hydrants are owned by the municipality or a separate water or utilities district. You might be able to gather some more direct information about this by using the MTCMA's listserv to ask your counterparts in other municipalities. With respect to potential municipal liability for failure to clear fire hydrants of snow, I doubt there is any. Specifically, I cannot identify any exception to the general grant of immunity under Maine Tort Claims Act that would include fire hydrants rendered unusable due to snow or ice. And if you'll remember, I did put it out on the listserv, and the answers were all over the place. In some municipalities, it's the fire department, some it's public works, some it's their utilities district, some have independent contractors. There's not any one size fits all. It's just whatever the municipality decides to do.
Any other discussion on this? Joan?
I just feel that this takes the responsibility away from the public works and the fire department, puts it on the CUD. And if it can be enforced well or not, but it's there.
You want to speak?
yeah, I feel like I just want a little more information, and maybe the idea of looking at a few bids before we make a decision on an ordinance, I guess. That's my only concern, is to know really the legality behind it and what all the options are before we say who should do this.
Right, and in the email that I had at your desk, I sent it earlier today, but I know everyone's busy during the day, so I made a copy. And our city attorney, Rick Solomon, said, while I think the city has the authority to discontinue snow removal around hydrants, I question whether the city can transfer that responsibility to another independent entity or individual without consent and compensation. And then it just says, I suggest you follow up with MMA or municipal law for clarification. And I read you before what I found out from MMA,
Which is nothing.
which was just every town has their own thing, was what they
But
said.
they
But
didn't
Rick
really answer the question as far as if you can.
force somebody,
Right.
I mean, it sounds like from Rick, you can't, that he questions whether the city can transfer the responsibility to another independent entity or individual without consent and compensation. So that's where like an agreement would come into play, not necessarily, because they wouldn't be bound to follow the ordinance, but if we had an agreement that they would follow that, if we have an agreement, not just a unilateral, you're going to do this, and because we say so, that's unilateral. There's no consent or anything.
I had a question, and this can go back, and maybe Joan or somebody was a previous council. We had this discussion before, at one point, about putting this out to a contract, and I don't know if it materialized or not, or did we discuss it at one point, but we never went further with it?
I don't remember.
I thought we talked about at one point.
Well, we talked about Prescal having.
Prescal having contracts.
but
I
it
don't
was-
know if we pursued
I don't think.
that
we-
idea or not. I mean, I remember it being a discussion point, but I don't think
I
anything,
don't think so.
and how far it went. I'm just trying to remember. You remember at that time frame when
Yeah,
we
but
talked
I-
about it, but I don't know
I
if we
don't
went any.
think, I don't think it went forward, because I know talking about what Prescal was paying, we thought, well,
No, yeah, it was, okay,
Yeah.
that's.
Councilor Willie has his hand up.
Lou?
A question, I know CUD hasn't always been an independent entity, and it belonged to the city. What was going on then? Does anyone remember back then?
that was too far.
So, when CUD, who took care of it? Was it CUD, was it city?
Hugh, would you like to answer? Just step out of the microphone, please, Hugh.
That was back in 1945 or 47.
Just real quick, water or wastewater services in the city of Caribou have never fallen under the municipality. They've always been separate.
No, it was in the
water
1800s.
district did.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you, please clarify.
The water district has never been a city department.
Yeah. In the 1800s to 19, I just read that, just today.
It's either been a private company,
Oh, yes, it was a,
but it has
Yeah.
never fallen under the city.
well, okay.
It's true.
Private.
Is everybody good?
Yeah, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Do you have anything more, Lou?
No, I'm just listening. You know, I'm at the point where I hate to force someone to do something they obviously don't want to do. It would be great, according, you know, I agree with Mark. We're a small hometown. Why can't we sit down and come to an agreement on something? I can't see taking money away from one department to get the job done. We're just all over the place, and I just, it's too bad that we have to always be at odds on things like this, but I also agree that when listening to Public Works, because I'm on that committee, when we're back-to-back snowstorms, and they're working to get their streets clean and the roads clean, they don't have time. And so are we gonna wait until we have a disaster, and, you know, everyone's pointing fingers at someone else? When are we gonna say, these people need to take care of this? And if you say Public Works, then do you want them to do that first before they clear the streets? So we can't have it both ways. We've gotta have someone taking care of the situation before we have, you know, a fatality or something. Because it's too late after that to say, oh, we should have come to an agreement. So we need to get there. I'm done. Thank you.
Anybody else have a discussion? We still have a motion to accept ordinance number 5 of second. Any further discussion? Boma?
No.
Gone?
No.
Doug?
No.
John?
No.
Terrio?
No, I'll wait, I'll say no, and I'll wait until we get some more information.
Willie?
No?
No. Ordinance? The motion fails. With that, we go to the next, as brought up, can we get some discussion? As Doug had mentioned earlier, can we feel out some quotes here?
Yep.
On some of this stuff?
We'll
I mean,
work
this-
on that.
And I think it was discussed at the last meeting, the reason we were doing this now is prior to the snow season.
Right.
So we hopefully can come to an agreement here for everybody, for the taxpayer. What Dave mentioned earlier, you know, we can come to an agreement here that solves this problem. Prior, as Councilor Willie had said, you know, fatality or something. We're not pointing fingers, so we can we'll keep this on the radar, and this will be on the next agenda for some further discussion. Thank you on that, everybody. Reports. Reports AA, reports by staff and committees. The tax acquired map, page 17. Let me get the right page here. Get that up there for Penny. Okay, so Carl, please come up with us. Get my mind on the next item.
So on page 17, this property was out to bid earlier this spring, and we had no bidders on it, and Mr. Amador has sent in $700 to purchase this property. It doesn't have an address. It's map 15, lot 30, section A as an apple. Just wondering if the council would like to accept the $700. That was the minimum bid from the prior.
What are the wishes of the council?
I move we accept it.
Second.
Motion to accept. I have a second. Discussion. Boma?
Aye.
Gone.
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Willie?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Hopefully at our next meeting, we'll have or at this meeting, we'll have a quick claim deed. And the next one, we have, continue with 8B. Carl?
Yeah, so last meeting, in your minutes you just passed, you voted to accept the minimum bid of 1,500, but we didn't have the map and lot, we only have the street address, and by legal address, it needs to be approved by the map and lot number.
Who made that
I think it was
motion?
John that made the motion.
Was it John that made the motion?
So our secretary went through the minutes, and we didn't get the map and lot included in
I'll
the
take
last.
the blame.
No,
I'll take the blame.
Oh,
It was me.
I
It
already
was
said
me.
you were.
Yeah, it was me, okay?
Chair will entertain a clarified motion.
I clarify that and make the motion that we accept the bid of $1,500 for map 31, lot 157, 41 Water Street.
Yeah, this is just to set the minimum bid for
Set the
that
minimum bid.
property. Yep, thank you.
Set the minimum bid. Okay, thank you. So,
Second.
we have a second discussion. Boma?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Willie?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Carl.
Get that clarified. We're getting down here. Manager's report. Take it away, Penny.
Okay, so with broadband, Consolidated has reached out with information about their county build-out project. Melinda from Charter Spectrum also called to see if the city had made a decision on a broadband solution, and she wanted me to convey to the council that Charter and Spectrum is still available to work on a last-mile solution, and will also work with the city on grant funding. For the Community Development Block Grant, the Maine DECD sent the paperwork on C&J Service Center's application invitation to the wrong address. So we lost several weeks on getting that out. Graham Warren from NMDC is working on it, and the City Council will hold a public hearing at a special meeting June 22nd at 6 p.m. Events and marketing, Thursdays on Sweden Street. It began on June 2nd, but we have our second one this week on June 16th with live entertainment by Trish King Music. And the Par and Grill will be hosting in the beer garden. There were a lot of food vendors on June 2nd, so come hungry. The Federal American Rescue Plan Act, the county commissioners will meet on June 14th to review the ARPA grant applications. Communities will be notified after decisions are finalized. Blight cleanup, asbestos testing has been done at several tax-acquired properties. Removal of buildings will start this week. For business outreach, the City of Caribou was awarded a $10,000 tourism marketing grant from the Maine Office of Tourism. We will be working with local contractors and Jacob Pelkey from the Aroostook County Tourism, and more details to follow on that. For the police station, there will be a vote for the new station tomorrow. Our congressionally directed spending request from Senator Collins' office was approved for $2.5 million, and more details to follow on that also. Right now, it's in the public disclosure period. It will then go to the Senate committee, and then we hope it will be put in the appropriations bill from there. The investment policy, the investment committee met and discussed the credit enhancement agreement process, and more information will be provided at a later time with that. The trailer park closure, most of the, I think actually all now, of the vacant mobile homes have been removed. There's still 3 families that are hanging in. We do have Attorney Solomon working on that. The airport, I was contacted last week by an aircraft mechanic that will be visiting Caribou later this summer. I printed out his information and his flyer, and I put that at the airport, and we put it on our website too, so if there's any local pilots that need work done on their plane, he'll be coming later this year. The new LED streetlights, I've had several conversations about streetlights that were on the list to be illuminated. If you remember, back a few months ago, there was a little bit of confusion at Versant Power, but we got them the list, and I just, in my conversations, heard from them this week that their portion of the work has been completed, so R.L. Todd will be going out, now that that work's done, to get those lights going. At the planning board meeting Thursday, there was a great discussion about the 2024 comprehensive plan. So there's now a plan to make a plan on the comprehensive plan. The administrative approvals, the Caribou Country Club liquor and special amusement license, and the Par and Grill liquor and special amusement licenses were approved in the last 2-week period. For personnel changes, Kathy Adams has been hired for the executive office coordinator position. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
So there's a plan for the plan?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure.
Yes.
Plan A, Plan B.
Yeah.
So on the boat anchor down along the river,
Yes.
what stage are we? Applying for any funds to remediate the asbestos? What is that? Where are we at with it, I guess what I'm trying to say?
We're the same place we were before. I mean, we're waiting for the right kinds of funding opportunities to come up for our brownfields property. And we have, so the testing that was done down there by our local abatement company, that was done through a grant from the state. And that has been done, and so we do have something good to work with when we get when it's the right time to apply for something.
So there's nothing out there that we should be
Looking at.
going to kick the weeds and the rocks over? Or?
Not that I'm aware of right this
Okay.
second. Like, I had
Yeah,
something show
I
up
get
in
it.
my mailbox a couple weeks ago, but it wasn't for our area. I mean, that's the thing with the brownfields, when they put them out, it's not always our area.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. That's a good topic.
Maybe we need, yeah, we have the power plants on there. I guess it's on there anyway, but.
Just- Anybody have any other questions for Penny on the manager's report? Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.
9A, we got a first read for the Veterans Memorial Park Association, and need to read this, or?
Sure, so I
I can read it.
Oh, okay.
I can read it.
okay.
May 26th, an email was received from Phil McDonough regarding the Veterans Memorial Park Association. As president of the Veterans Memorial Park Association, I would like to offer a donation of the park to the city and its citizens that have supported it over the last 13 years. Unfortunately, our numbers are thinning and we can no longer function. If you would you present this to the council, and if they are receptive, we will take care of the legal aspects of the transfer. We do have a small amount left in the treasury that we would like to establish a reserve to help support the maintenance of the grounds also. There will be two conveniences. One, which would preferably not to construct anything else, but if something is that be of stone or masonry products, keeping with the theme currently in place. And the other would be to maintain the grounds to the same standard that we have. Feel free to contact me if you have questions. At the time we purchased the property from the city, there was no survey on file or any history at the Registry of Deeds. We had it surveyed, and it is on file with Mr. Blackstone, and I have a copy here. Thank you, and have a nice day, Phil. And I guess this is just a first read, and no action is needed this time. The council would need to formally accept the transfer. If members of the Caribou City Council have any questions or concerns they would like staff to research, please let us know. Mr. McDonough has an appointment with Attorney Rick Solomon on June 21st, and we will receive more information about the dissolution of the Association and conveying the Veterans Memorial Park to the city of Caribou.
So I guess the one thing I would ask is, you know, what is the consensus of the council? He is going to meet with Attorney Solomon on the 21st, and I guess if you had a strong feeling against doing this, I guess it might be good for him to know before he goes to see Attorney Solomon about that.
I guess the only concern I would have is be talking with the Parks and Rec Department about maintaining it, because eventually it would come down to you guys maintaining it. And is there any issues or anything here that you can see that would prevent us or hinder us from doing that?
No, we, before we had given the property to the Veterans Community Memorial Park Association, we had maintained it for as long as I had been here. So a weekly mowing, you're looking at about 45 minutes. And I've spoken with Mr. McDonough, and there is money that they would be transferring over to the city to be maintained for weed control, fertilization, put that into a separate reserve account, and that would be only the place that money would be used for is that. In my opinion, the 45 minutes, we have lost some properties here and there over attrition, over the new school, or some of our mowing has gone down a little bit. We're there at the museum now, we're down at Linden, we're parked in the museum parking lot, we're there. The 45 minutes to do is not a big burden. Me personally and the rec department, we have discussed it, and it would not be a big burden for us to do. So as long as the council agrees to transfer it back over to the city, we will take care of it in the same shape as it's being done now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any discussion on this? I guess, what's council's concern? We don't have to push this ahead as a
Really
first
have- I'm
reading?
just looking for a consensus that I could give
Consensus?
him.
We can wait till after the next meeting to make our decision, or, Mark?
Well, I'll just say I'm very much in support of this.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
Me too.
Me too.
Could we make that
It's
a
a
motion to
no-brainer.
transfer tonight? I'm just saying, that would skip
Yeah.
a,
I have no
Assume we
problem
can.
first read, I like that.
Okay,
It's just
okay, let's do it that way.
I'm not here to promote it right now, I'm just saying that when it gets to us. But I'll tell you what I would like to also see in coordination with this, and Gary kind of said, times change, things are fluctuating. I guess at some point in time, I'd like to have a report on all the parks that we take care of and the numbers.
Be curious.
And then just kind of browse through it and say, is there anything we can eliminate here? Not that we will. I just want to say, programs need to be reviewed every
Another point.
5 years. And I think this would be a good time. But when this one gets here, I'm in favor of this one.
do we have a
Thanks.
consensus from the council? Okay, so we'll wait for, after, put this on the next agenda, so.
Do we need
It
a
really
sec-
is a beautiful park.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
We
that's
were-
right.
Well, we didn't have a
Right.
motion, I guess we
They've
can.
done
No,
that.
I mean, I was just looking for head
Just a
shaking.
consensus.
Yeah,
Consensus,
just-
and we can wait till after he meets with the.
Well,
rec.
let's just,
Yeah.
my point, let's just see what Mr. Solomon
Mhm.
Yeah,
says.
yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
right.
Yep.
I mean,
He's gonna,
nothing's gonna happen
Right.
between now and then.
Cool.
so that's, nine, okay. Is there anything else on that? 9B, we have janitorial RFP for municipal building, police department, and library. Penny?
So we had sent out a request for proposals before, maybe for some extra hours at the city offices, Caribou Police Department, and Caribou Public Library. They came back much higher than what we could afford. So we went back out with more or less what we have now for time, and adding the police department because they don't have a janitor at this time. And so we did, we put them back out. B&P Cleaners is the current contractor for the city office and the library, and is based in Presque Isle. Honestly Clean is based in Caribou. Those were the only two bids that we received. And B&P was the lower of the two bids that we had received, and like I said, they are doing it now. and we can afford what they're charging, I guess is the bottom line. So I'm just asking you to make a motion to approve the bid for B&P cleaners for 22 with the option for 2023 and 2024.
Are these costs spread across the three departments?
Yes. all
So the
three.
cost for this is that spread across out of their budgets?
Yes, yep, so it's,
Yep.
out of the municipal buildings, budget is for city office, and then the police comes out of the police budget, the library comes out of the library budget.
Just wanted to clarify, thank you.
Yep.
Make a motion to accept the 2022 bid from B&P Cleaners with the option for 2023 for 12 months and 2024 for 12 months. Do you want the dollar figures?
I don't need them.
Okay.
Second?
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Move the second discussion. Boma,
Aye.
Gone.
Aye.
Doug,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Terrio,
Aye.
Willie.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 10A, finalize the credit agreement with Irving Farms Incorporated, 2438 on your packet. And I believe we've discussed this all previously and voted on it, and there was the $1,000 deposit was given towards any expense. That check was received. So I don't know if we have any, if any has any more discussion on this. I think this was just, there was a holdup as far as the
check.
getting the check and the time. That's why it wasn't, we had one last time
Yep,
with another
yep.
company. And that's why it's
And
on here.
these, I would say that we had the checks for these, I just didn't, it wasn't communicated to me that we had them. So it's not, I guess I wouldn't want people to think that they didn't get it in on time.
Mhm.
It was a miscommunication with staff.
With staff, thank you for clarifying that. I'd like to apologize to these people.
Yes,
too,
I do too.
That somebody else's, these three should have been approved at the same,
Right, at
in
the
the same
same
time
time.
at our last
Correct.
meeting, so.
I make a motion that we authorize Penny Thompson to execute the attached credit enhancement agreement on behalf of the city.
Second?
Discussion, Boma,
Aye.
Gone,
No.
Doug,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Terrio,
Aye.
Willie. Aye. Motion carries. Danielle has 6-1. On the next one is finalize the credit enhancement agreement with North State Transport LLC. Same situation
Yep.
as we discussed earlier. I'll make a motion that we accept the credit enhancement agreement with North State Transport LLC.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Boma,
Aye.
Gone.
No.
Doug,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Terrio,
Aye.
Willie.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Get those finalized for them.
Yep.
10C, new discussion for loan and capital budgets approved during the budget process, 55 to 68 in our packet.
I need to,
54, excuse me, page 54. Yeah.
well, I've always said that when I realize I'm wrong, I'm going to stand up and say it, and I voted in favor of this loan for I thought I was voting on 145, so I was zinging instead of whatever. I think the council should consider, if I understood it correct, that we're going to borrow money and we're going to shore up an account with borrowed money. Was it the CIP account? Was that?
Well, we're talking about this potentially the loan for the city, is what we were discussing.
That's right.
Well,
But the buildings committee came in with $1,045,000.
Mhm.
And then there was a couple additives on there, one being the museum, and there was another one, and I remember I was chiming in about we shouldn't be borrowing money without the building committee going through, identifying all the fixes, that it's not just throwing money into an account to be spent somewhere along the way. But I see that in my own mistake, that if I understand correctly, that the vote was for the 1.5 million. Am I correct by saying that?
Correct, when we passed the
Yeah.
budget, the capital budget.
Yeah. So above the 1.45, where's the rest of that dollar? How did we come up with $1.5 million, I guess? I obviously have made a mistake, and I'll stand and correct myself publicly for it.
The other, I guess I can go along with what, the capital improvement committee, we looked at other capital projects. The museum, some of those were eliminated from that. You identified one specifically we eliminated through. So 1.5 million, the way I see this, I guess I'll go along with this. This is basically, let's dumb it down a little, it's a home improvement loan. This money will be drawn down of the 1.5 million for any of those capital improvement budgets would all have to come to the council for approval with RFQs. Anything over and above the 1.4 you have would all have to come to us, because I believe some of those things on the capital improvement that the municipal building committee identified could be potentially the generator. I can use some examples. Could be offset. So the 1.5 and our 1.9 million is 1.9, correct, on the capital improvement, the total budget?
Yep.
Yep.
So we haven't spent it yet. I mean, we'll draw it down as we go along, as we identify that we have the projects here, that some of these may come in lower, some may come in higher.
I understand that.
So that's where I'm going.
I'm just, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but was the intent to borrow money and take that to bolster up the CIP line that's been neglected over the years?
Yeah.
And I'm just making a statement that maybe the council should rethink that, borrowing to shore an account like that. To me, that's different than borrowing to fix a hard asset. That's a different story. Borrowing money to shore up something that we in past councils have neglected to fund properly, I think that, just my opinion, I think I wouldn't do it in my business, put it that way. I think we should rethink that, and if it means next year that the council setting cannot come up with appropriate cuts and massage to move priorities to the CIP, then they're going to have to raise taxes and stand accountable for it. I just question the good business practice. Would you borrow money to shore up a failing account? Just my thought.
I guess I would hope that with this amount that we would use to shore up these things, that it would hopefully, because this is the 10-year commitment, that's money that we would get everything done, and hopefully next year we wouldn't have all these, or in the next bunch of years we wouldn't have these problems.
But you're financing that for 10 years.
Yeah, so then,
the people are paying interest on that for, say, 10 years. When business practice, to some of us might be that if we can't, let's be honest, wages and everything else always gets funded properly and then some, except the people's assets. And I think the proof of that is that we're now faced with borrowing $1,045,000 to bring them up to snuff. And those should be priority one. In my world, you have to have the assets that our employees work in dry, warm, safe. What's left, we work on raises. So I just question, are we better to put the taxpayers at a loan of 10 years paying interest on it, or try to adjust next year at a minimal and raise what we have to raise 1 year? You see what I'm saying? It's 1 year, it's a bite, it's done, versus 10 years of paying interest.
So, but the biggest thing, okay, just because I'm a simple man here, okay? So if we don't use the money, we don't borrow it.
Right.
correct? We don't have to pay it, because we had discussed that, okay? So, in other words, okay, so if we don't use it, it's like we're gonna use a construction loan here first to fund our little projects and all that sort of thing, and we get everything all said and done, okay, we don't need that money. I agree with what you're saying about not borrowing money, about borrowing money to fund, to put an account to sit there that's not accumulating any interest, that we're gonna be paying 2.9% interest or whatever. I wouldn't do that either, but, so, I understand what you're saying.
And I agree. When we come up with the 1.45, and from what Penny has told us and what we're learning, we're going to garner some savings in there, I get it. But in my mind's eye, the 1,045,000 was the amount we would spend. Either we come under, or we bumped it and used it all. And that was where we
That's
would
what we
end
had
for
talked
this
about,
year.
yeah.
But on a side note, the account hasn't been funded properly for a long time. And the CIP, I think, the average was 710,000 a year, and we're faced with having to borrow 1.45. So in reality, shouldn't that have been maybe $800,000 into the CIP fund?
It was,
Food for thought, anyway.
I guess it was an easy target in the past.
But I could see
Easy-
borrowing, whoop, sorry, didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
no, I'm just saying it was an easy target in the past when we wanted to keep things flat funded. It was easy to just to shave off the capital improvement, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I think too, in some of the, repairs and things that we discussed several months ago when we set this up, could be a lot more money now.
That's what we're worried about.
I mean,
And if we don't, if we have the money to get them done, so we can get them done before they go up even higher than they're going.
I guess, and then what John said, if we have the money, and, oh, no, Mark, go ahead, please, I don't want to.
And I'll use your analogy, Jody, a home improvement loan, and over the last 10 years, I'm just gonna use the average, we've been putting in $700,000, and the reason we need that home improvement loan is because we haven't been putting
Right.
enough away. They use the phrase, kick the can down the road. Let me tell you, every council, every manager can take a little bit of hit on that one. We have these assets, and at $700,000 in today's inflationary market, didn't come close, so much so that we have to go borrow $1.5 million to get caught up. I was on the buildings committee, and I agreed to even go down this road as long as we had a discussion on this subject, and we never did, but that's life. 1.5 million, and we're looking to spend 1.95 million. So this year, you could say, net figure, we're only gonna put $450,000 away.
Yeah.
When we now know, wait a minute, 700,000 wasn't enough to keep up. When I sat on the buildings committee, my interpretation of the numbers that I saw, and I'm speaking one of three, we weren't bringing these buildings up to super code and we wouldn't have to worry about spending any more money for the next 10 years. No, we just brought them up to a standard that we thought they should be at today's current deal. And we need to start putting money away now. It's like health insurance or life insurance. Start at a younger age, or premiums are cheap. We need to start now, and instead of putting in, like Doug said, if we know $700,000 isn't enough, well, that's the discussion I wanted to have. What would be enough? 800, 900? You want to? So we're only putting 450, and I get it, but hey, we're putting a big burden on the councils after us to have to raise this tax now to get to that 900,000 or 800,000. So I voted no against it because we didn't have this discussion and this concern, and we didn't bring it up. But in my personal opinion, if we only fund CIP this year out of this operating budget for only $450,000, I'm going to say it, that's the ultimate kicking the can down the road. And if you gotta take a hit, you gotta take a hit. So, that's why I voted no. Thanks.
Somebody else want to speak to us? Before Mark?
Pardon?
No, I was just, you were
No.
speaking, I just, Lou, did you have anything?
I move to approve borrowing the original 1.5 million suggested by the Capital Budget Committee and authorizing the city manager to finalize the paperwork, for this transaction.
Second.
Just to clarify, so we had two quotes, one from Aroostook County Federal Savings and Loan Association and one from the Chia Savings Bank. So do you want to clarify your motion of which one you want me to work with?
Worcester County Savings.
Okay.
I still second that.
Okay, so you're clear on the motion on that? Discussion on this, please? Boma?
Aye.
Go on.
No.
Doug?
No.
John?
Aye.
Ariel?
Aye.
Willie? Aye. Motion carries. We'll be discussing it, well, okay, further ahead. So, I'll bring this up in a minute. We got report and discussion by mayor and council members. I'll start with you, Lou. Do you have anything you'd like to?
No, I'm good. Quickly, the library's having their plant sale this weekend. Or did they have it? Just have it?
I think they had it Saturday.
Can we get some for the next meeting?
What?
Can we get some plants for the next meeting?
Oh, no, no, they just had it, I'm sorry. I
Okay, they
didn't
just had
see
it.
So I wasn't paying attention, but, and I don't know how they did. They've got a couple fundraisers coming up with the Cares About Kids. And I did have a question, am I looking in the wrong place? I can't find any information on that. The Cares About Kids stuff.
I don't think we have everything finalized yet, do we now?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because we were looking for dates and we couldn't find them.
Oh, we have those.
August 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. We're going to hopefully have everything finalized this week.
Okay, good, thanks. That's all I have.
Let's go down. Doug, you got,
I'm good.
John, do you have anything you want to?
Just a couple quick things. I'd like to say congratulations to our newest paramedic firefighter at the fire station. Excuse me, I forgot her name. That's like me. Angela, okay, right. Number two, I'd like to thank the Caribou Police Department for the response they did at the school situation we had here over the last week. It just goes to show that our employees, our people are there and know how to handle a situation. And I want to thank them, and I think a lot of members in the community would like to do that also. And that's it for me.
I'd just like to remind everyone to go out and vote
Oh,
tomorrow.
Okay, Joan?
I would second her reminder to go out and vote tomorrow. That's it.
Mark, anything you want to throw out there?
And I'll third it.
Just a couple brief things I'd like to throw out there. Tomorrow, get out and vote, the school budget. I know there's been a lot of, a lot of things going on and discussion with the SRO officer in the city and the school. I mean, ultimately tomorrow, there has been an agreement, if you can please get her a copy of that, that was signed between the chief.
Yeah, it was a letter.
It was a letter.
It was
Can you-
like public.
It was
You
public
probably already
letter.
have
That
it,
was,
don't you? Okay,
you've
yeah,
already
she's
got it,
already
so I
wrote
just
about
want
it.
to,
Melissa's way ahead of it.
okay, good. I just want to put it
That's
out
why
there.
they call
that-
it news. By the time
Yeah,
we get
okay,
here,
but by the
it's
time
not
it gets
really
to me,
news.
so I just want to tell everybody that there's, that is, maybe
Right.
hasn't solved the problem, but there has been some discussion. Thank you for the grants, the 2.5 million potentially that you're doing, the 4.6
Yeah.
on the Mill Pond. We get the 10,000 on tourism. Also like to clarify.
Gary, you want to talk about, Gary
Yeah,
emailed me
Gary.
today about another one. so-
Yeah, up here.
More free money, Gary? You're the
Well, I
man.
mean,
Move on.
keep in
Nothing's free.
mind, these
No,
are
no, yeah,
for
right, yeah,
projects
yeah.
that we have planned to do
Nothing's free.
anyway. Everything
Yeah, right.
has to tie back to the comprehensive plan, the downtown district plan, the trails plan, everything that we have for planning documents, anything that we go after has to be things that the council has already said that they support. It's not that we wake up someday and decide we're gonna do this.
No, and just to clarify, the Collins Pond was 4.45 million.
The mill pond.
The mill pond. The ATV program, State of Maine program, has been up this year, and as last year, it's a 90/10 reimbursement. So my whole grant was approved for 33,000. 90% of that is 29,700. So that's money that will be able to help repair trails throughout the summer. The state reimburses us, same as our winter trail program. Our grooming reimbursement came back this year at 73,000. And we just got word last week that the state will be paying our fuel from February 15th through March 30th. For us, that is a $15,000 fuel bill. So that's coming back to us as well. So, as you know, the Polaris Industries, I wrote a grant, $10,000. Yamaha Industries, another $10,000. I'm gonna be writing a grant through Bombardier. They do about $20,000. That just opened up last week, so I'm gonna be going after that as well to help improve trails, tourism, to get that economic engine keep coming. So, working on it.
Gary, I have just a quick question. Is it my understanding there's no more Caribou ATV Club?
At this moment, they are inactive. So
Oh.
Has
our
Limestone or
maintenance,
Caswell picked up some of their,
we gave up a little section of our Limestone Connector Trail, which is on Mr. Dan Bagley's property off the Madawaska Road over to the Sawyer Road. We can't cross the Madawaska River Bridge in the wintertime, so it made the sense to give that section as well in the summertime.
Yep.
So Limestone takes care of that. But we're gonna be adding a 2.5 mile trail when I get the trail over to the Motor Inn with the monies that I got from the Polaris and the Yamaha grant. Sorry, I can't talk without my hands moving. So we're moving all the time we're getting some good feedback with grants. So hopefully, knock on wood, the big one that I just put in forward the other day that you folks approved to go after the Northern Borders Region Commission grant. I'll hear back in October, and that would be about a $270,000 grant. So, any other questions?
Wow.
Thank you.
Just one more thing I want to throw in here regarding broadband. There was an article, it was a TV article recently about the CUD and the broadband. I just want to clarify that the city has not made a commitment to an investment for any money to the CUD broadband, nor to any other broadband, and that will come to a future council. I've received a lot of calls about this. The letter of support that we sent was to support the charter change at the state level. So at any time, it would take a majority of the council for any funding for any moving forward with the broadband. So I just want to, because I did receive some questions about that, and I'm sure that will be out on the horizon for council to discuss at a later time. With that, we do have a special meeting on June 27th for a public hearing on the Cdbg application for C&J Service Center. The reason for that is there was nothing on our part.
Nope.
They put in the application, and there was some failed on the other end. Can't blame who. So, and the time frame requires us to have a special meeting for this.
Well, it requires a public hearing.
A public hearing,
But
excuse me.
their requirements for notice of a public hearing
Yeah.
are more than what we have for a public hearing.
And there's a deadline. We couldn't do it at our
Yes,
June 27th
right.
meeting because it won't allow the paperwork to get in line
Right,
for
that.
CJ to get
And
their
I
application.
really have to commend NMDC because they're the ones that have picked up the ball from DECD down in Augusta, sending this to the wrong address. But NMDC has really stepped up and is working with Mr. Haney on this and doing a great job. And I mean, I have to give credit where credit's due.
It's cool.
They've really been very, very good to work with.
So we
on
scheduled a
this.
special meeting for that. That's going to be, I promise, that's the only
Sure.
thing on the agenda for that evening is the public hearing, so we can.
In and out.
Well, I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
say that, did I? I'm on- no.
But it's good that people come and give input, because public participation is very important to these grants. And that's why when we bring them forward, there has to be buy-in from the community and from our elected officials on these grant applications, that they see value in bringing this investment into the community.
And so, okay, so that, and then our next regular meeting's gonna be June 27th. In July. In August, we're only gonna have one meeting that month, unless we have a special meeting coming up. And absolutely, everybody get out and vote tomorrow, regardless. We got some charter changes on there, there's a police state, there's all kinds of things.
Primary.
There's primary election, there's a lot of, urge everybody to get out and vote. So, with that, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
First. Oh, I don't know.
Hard ahead of the
All in
horse there.
favor?